Corruption is often thought of in game theoretic terms, specifically as a principal-agent problem. Agents take advantage of the fact that they are not being fully monitored by principals, and so will skim a little bit off the top. It's also possible to think of corruption as a different type of problem in game theory, a collective action problem. In this conception, everyone agrees that it would be better if there were less corruption, but no one takes the first step because they would lose out more than everyone else. It's individually rational to take or receive a bribe when everyone else does, so it's hard to achieve the better collective outcome. Political science has identified one way that business interests sometimes resolve this problem, which essentially comes down to transaction costs. I'll explain how this works by starting with an example from US politics. It's no secret that interest groups, like companies, lobby Congress for special treatment. Seeking eased regulation or earmarked contracts is a very common form of rent-seeking in the United States. Research has found that the cost-benefit analysis behind this lobbying changes the more it takes place. There comes a point in time at which there are so many tax loopholes, specific regulations, and earmarks that the cost of having lawyers figure out the regulatory environment is actually greater than the benefit of any individual tax break. When these transaction costs get very high, interest groups then coordinate with each other to pass more comprehensive legislation that simplifies the rules. For example, instead of individual companies seeking tax loopholes, they lobby to eliminate all loopholes and lower the overall tax rate. The same idea works in fighting corruption, specifically in companies dealing with bribes. It's preliminary, but some research indicates that when paying bribes to government officials becomes really expensive, firms will coordinate to lobby for the passage of anti-corruption legislation. This works better and can be assisted by the international community when institutions, in this case the Chamber of Commerce, exist to foster information sharing between these companies. Jonathan Gans Morse, in his article on property rights in Russia, indicates that this logic of high transaction costs may have been at play in the reduction of private coercion. The violence of 1990s capitalism in Russia got so bad that even business people with mafia connections decided something needed to change, and companies began to pursue redress in the courts as opposed to with weapons. This probably only works in certain environments, where you have a relatively large and diverse group of firms in an industry, for example, not when you have monopolies or oligopolies dominating commerce. But anti-corruption is an area where very few effective policy solutions have actually been found. This one has promise because it involves coordination amongst the relatively powerful in a country, economic interests that governments listen to.